Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, and welcome to another Sunday night edition of Markets with Morning Joe. I am your host, Joe Nasser, and as I said, it is Sunday evening. It is April 13th. I think the clock on my laptop is wrong. I believe it is 10 past 11. I'm sorry, 10 past 8, so 8 in the evening Eastern Standard Time. And well, it is a weekly wrap up of last week and what could be to come this week. And well, last week was a hell of a roller coaster of a week. So I've got the S&P 500 futures up right now. This is the E-mini futures, and you can see that the market is already trading at 54.32. So it initially gapped up for the futures when it opened earlier this evening. I think it's only been open shortly. So you see the green candle right here on from Friday that closed right at about 53.88, and so today for Sunday evening futures, we did open up higher, but it is selling off now a little bit. So basically, let's recap a little bit on last week on Monday the markets opened, had a big sell off. It basically the market traded below this long term trend line that I have here. It pierced through it. Tuesday was a little bit better of a day, wide ranging day, as well as Monday. Wednesday was the news when Trump tweeted out at like 9:37 in the morning, buy, good time to buy, and then the markets ripped. That was the morning that he announced 90-day pause on the tariffs, and the market had one of the largest up days in history, up 12%. It was crazy. I couldn't believe how high the market went, in just a few hours. So that was Wednesday. Thursday was kind of reversal day, all right, where it gave back a lot of those profits. Friday was a super slow day, pretty much kind of a boring non-action day, but it did close green for the most part. All right, so yesterday there was some news that broke out, supposedly that Trump was waiving tariffs on semiconductor chips and phones, basically technology coming out from China, and that was positive news for technology stocks. And then today they came back and corrected it that was not the case, that there was no 100%, there was no waiving of of tariffs on semiconductors, but there will be like a 20% tariff rather than nothing at all or just a minimum 10%. Anyway, whatever. There's a lot of back and forth news with the whole tariff talk. So I suspect this market, this coming week, is going to be another wild week. So on any bullish news, the market is going to head higher, but we have a lot of resistance up top here. I don't expect the market to get much higher than 5,700, 5,750. There is a great deal of resistance in this area here. You can see this white trend line that I have that kind of, tags the bottom of these pivot highs from back in January. And now, so, it tags the bottom of these highs here, but it also tags the highs here from March. And there's a lot of resistance. You see the 200-day moving average along with the 50-day moving average up here. That's assuming the markets can make it up that high, which, at this point, I would not be surprised if it did. But like I said, there's a lot of resistance here, even here. So there's a lot to get through this area to get up higher. So right now we're at 54.30. If it gets any higher, first level of resistance would be the $5,500 area. It's gonna stop right around here, right? Which we could possibly see that maybe tomorrow if the markets, have an update tomorrow. And the next level would be in the $5,600 range, all right? And then after that, like I said, would be 5,700, 5,750. I don't think we're gonna get back up there or past that. If we do, I think there's a big stop at 5,800, 5,900. and then the markets will probably turn, assuming we get that high. All right. Now, um, so this parallel channel that I have here, you see we're trading at the middle of it. You see this kind of blue dotted line right here in the middle of the parallel. So that's where we've kind of come to at this point. I would not be surprised if the markets came back in a little bit. That's, my thought process is that I would not be surprised to see some of this bullish move from last Wednesday to give back some gains. There's going to be some selling. Every time the market gets a little bit higher, there's going to be some selling. So we might take a step forward and then take a couple steps back. So that's the spiders. The Qs are pretty much the same thing. The S&P and the NASDAQ are pretty much trading the same. The pattern is exactly the same. So we'll see. We're into some decent resistance right now. We'll see what happens this week. It's very, very news driven, depending on what comes out with the tariffs and all that stuff. Dow Jones. Sorry, this is not the futures chart. So let's skip the Dow Jones. Let's talk about gold. Gold, guys, came into my level. All right, I've for the last several weeks, maybe probably more than that, honestly, maybe even the last couple of months, I told you that I was expecting gold to get up to 32.20, 32.80. I can't remember. I measured the move from down here, all right, at $2,600 basically. 2,600 up to this level here, 29.70. So that was 370 points from 28.50, 300. So that takes me up to so 32. Good Lord, I'm terrible with math. So 28.50 plus 370. That takes it up to 70. Good Lord. Bear with me, guys. I'm so sorry. 29.20 plus 300, 32.20. So it basically passed 32.20. That was my level. On Friday, it closed at 32.44. It pierced 32.63. And now we have a little bit of a pullback, slight pullback. So, everybody's catching on to gold now. First it tagged 3,200, and then it had a huge comeback into the 50-day moving average. This trend line that I had here, which is very good support. You see 4 days of it coming down, and then bam! All of a sudden, within 3 days, it had a massive move higher, along with the gold miners. So if you look at GDX. That is gold miners. Look at the move on GDX. First, it pierced the upper parallel channel right here, came back a little bit for a few days, pierced it again, and then it reversed early last week when the whole market basically had a huge sell-off, and it came into $40, and then it freaking shot up to $50, man. What a massive move. I missed that one. I wish I caught that move. Silver got annihilated also, but silver's iffy, right? Well, that's the silver miners. Sorry, let me go to silver. Let me go to the silver futures. So it's trading at 32, just above $32, 32.05. I need silver to break back above 32.80. I need it back above $33. All right. So silver may chop around here. It could. This is a good level for silver. There's some good support here, but we need silver to be stronger. So if gold continues to move higher, we need silver to strengthen up a little bit too. Who knows? This was a massive sell-off. We needed to gain some traction. So back to gold. I would not be surprised to see gold come back in a little bit and then make another move higher. There are reports now, Goldman Sachs and other big companies expecting gold to move up towards 3,600, 3,700, or even 4,000 or higher. I believe gold is definitely going to get there by the end of the year. It's not going to happen right away. I guess it all depends on what happens with the tariff talk and recession and all that. But We'll see. But gold had a huge move in 3 days. I would not be surprised to see it pull back a little bit again, and then make another giant move higher. Oil this week got killed when the market sold off. Oil really came down hard, and it made it all the way down to $55. So right now, you see this pattern here. When basically it tagged the 200-day moving average at $72. This was back in beginning of April 1st, April 2nd, and then it had 3-4 days of huge, massive sell-off. All right, dropped all the way down to $55, came back. That was a good buy. And now this pattern here, so this leg down and this chop right here, that is beginning to look like a bear flag pattern to me. So we'll see what happens. It's possible oil can move back up into the mid 60s and then come back down. We'll see what happens. So oil is hard to figure out. I mean, I've been expecting oil to come down for a long time. This wedge pattern here has been going on, a lot of chop back and forth for several months, going back to September of 23. Never mind months, years, right? So look how long it took to finally break through that pattern. And even when it finally did make its way down here, it came back into the wedge, then back down, then back into the wedge. It broke above it. It looked like it was a false break. It looked like it was going to break out higher, and it reversed. And that reversal came all the way down. I mean, it went from $81 all the way down to $65, then up a little bit, and then that's it. It gave. So we'll see what happens with oil. We'll see what Trump does to drive the market. I mean, he wants oil to go down even lower, but we'll see. We'll see if everything going on in the world with all the wars and everything, you never know. This thing could spike back up and make, higher highs. I've been watching oil stocks like Chevron and Exxon. I mean, I was waiting and waiting to see what was going to happen with Chevron. Chevron looked like it was going to, break out. And I'm like, why? How is this breaking out when oil is getting lower? And sure enough, it was a false break. And look at the massive move. I mean, it broke. It was at 168. It was up here for quite a while, like 2 weeks, and then it just gave it all up, man. I mean, it sold off. It gapped down. Like they had two huge gap down moves, and now it's trading at 135. So Chevron's going to be a great buy, I think, right around the $120 range. I don't know if it gets that far. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. There's a lot of support right here. All right, 120, 129 area. If it gets in that area, that would be a good trade in my opinion. Not financial advice, but that's what I'm thinking. Exxon, same thing, right? I had this chart on Exxon. I knew so Exxon surprisingly went up just like Chevron, right? While oil was going down, but Exxon had this resistance line here, this long trend line that I had, and it was looking like it just peaked through one day, but it came back, and same thing, it had a major sell-off. So I expect Exxon to get a little bit lower as well. We'll see. All depends on what happens with oil. NatGas has come in quite a bit. When the market sold off last week, it also sold off, but it's trading at a pretty good support level right here, around 3.4. This is on a daily, so there's decent support. You can see looking back here, there's decent support for NatGas. Can it get lower? Yeah, it's possible. It can get lower down to $3. We'll see what happens with NatGas, but it could go higher. So stay tuned on that. I already talked about the Qs and the S&P. So the SMH, this is a semiconductor stocks. It fell below my target of 196. It came, all the way down to 173, almost tagging a 200-day moving average on a weekly chart. All right, so that is a pretty good, solid support. Didn't quite get there yet, right? But beneath that, you see there's a 618 Fibonacci retrace at 159. So looking at this chart, it dropped, almost tagged the 200-day, then it came back up, pierced through the 0.382 Fib retrace, but there is some good resistance here. We'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens with the news on semiconductor stocks. I mean, the first, non-tariff news came out on Saturday. That would have been bullish for semiconductors, but I don't think so. And when I look at, for example, NVDA had a huge move up on last week. Like a massive move up. It came down to $87. That was a very, very, very good line of support right here. Had a huge move back up, but again, you see this trend line that I have right here. This is similar to Bitcoin, a lot of resistance here. So unless NVIDIA breaks above and out of this trend line right here, so if NVIDIA can break above 110, 112, right, and make its move up, maybe back up to like 125, it's possible we can see that this week. Then the semiconductors can move up together. But again, we're coming into heavy resistance here. So if NVIDIA makes it up to that 125 mark, that's a sell in my opinion. I don't think it's going to stay there. AMD, actually, I want to show you guys Broadcom, AVGO. The same thing. AVGO got slaughtered last week. It had this downtrending wedge pattern. Let me go to a daily. All right, this wedge pattern slanting down. It broke below this trend line support, came in all the way down to 137, and then a huge comeback right to the top of this trend line, right? In one day, sold off again, tagged it again on Friday. So we'll see what happens. If Broadcom, if the semiconductor stocks can, break out a little bit, I don't know. We'll see what happens with semiconductors. We'll see. I mean, it's hard to say truly because it's all news driven. All right. So, Bitcoin, let's talk about Bitcoin real quick. Bitcoin did break out of this trend line that I have, this down trend line that's been acting as resistance the whole way down. You can see here, it pierced through it before, right? It tagged the 50-day moving average, this bar right here, came back in all the way down to 74,000 and now found its way back up. And it's starting to consolidate up here. But, the thing is, there is still some resistance at the $87,000, $88,000 mark, and if it does make it above that, there's definitely a lot of resistance around 92, 93, up to 96, 97,000. So if Bitcoin can make it up there, I think that's a good level where it'll probably fall back from, and we'll see what happens this week, if it can make it up there or not. I still expect Bitcoin to come down to 68,000, guys. I have not given up on that number. You can see that every time Bitcoin drops, it gets lower and lower, right? So first drop was 78, second drop was 76, third drop was 74, almost 74,000. And now we're heading up higher. So we'll see. If the markets are gonna move up, Bitcoin will get a bid, but I don't think it's gonna get past the $96,000, $97,000 area. Anything else I want to talk about? I'm running out of time, guys. I've got a minute left, just about. Tesla. Tesla is very news driven. I'm not going to talk about Tesla. Personally, I think Tesla is heading down eventually to the 160, 170 area. If I extend this trend line, there's going to be a lot of support in that 170 area. Okay. Microsoft, I still think Microsoft has lower to go. It almost broke above this trend line right here, guys. We'll see. I'm watching Microsoft very closely, but on a weekly basis, it has not broken above the trend line here. So this head and shoulder pattern is still very valid on Microsoft. All right. So we'll see. Apple had a huge comeback. It sold off tremendously. I mean, wow. Anybody that bought Apple here had a great profit. But we'll see what happens with Apple if it makes its way back up to 215, maybe 220. But I think after that, Apple is going to sell off again. And Meta, I've been eyeing this a lot, and I think Meta, we'll see what happens with Meta this week. I think Meta still has further downside to go. And that's it, guys. My clock is ticking. There's a lot more charts that I would like to talk about, but I'm just going to keep it short and sweet for tonight. Happy Palm Sunday to you all, and enjoy your evening. And Hope this helps. If you'd like it, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you so much and take care. Good night.